Alright guys, first vlog here from beautiful Miami. Why does being stuck in traffic suck when you're driving a stick shift car? Well, let's see. So number one, you have to constantly shift gears, obviously. In and out, put it in neutral, brake, I'm one of those few people that, well, maybe not few, but I'm one of those people who does not like riding the clutch. So that means there's very frequent pedal pushing, which can make your leg hurt depending on how firm the spring on your clutch pedal is. So other people like to ride the clutch. One of the main reasons I don't do that is because you wear out the throwout bearings, and that's not really something you want to do, because even though the parts themselves are not that expensive, to get to them is pretty involved. So any clutch work is something you want to stay away from. So if you can avoid it. So that's one of the reasons I don't like to do that. The other is I like the car to basically coast when I'm not accelerating. A lot of times I'll let off the gas if there's like a red light in front of me or something. I'll let off the gas and I'll coast so that the vehicle decelerates at a aerodynamically limited rate versus getting very close to the car in front and using the brakes. So it's a smoother driving experience, and it's something that I prefer to do. So those are the two ways that you can basically drive a stick shift car in traffic. One is by riding the clutch, which wears your throwout bearings, and the other is to do what I do, which is frequent shifting. A lot of that shifting being into neutral. So when you do that, your leg's gonna hurt no matter what. If you have a light clutch pedal, it's not gonna be that bad, but still, you're gonna get some wear on your knee. If you have a very stiff pedal, you're actually gonna feel the muscles start to hurt. Not necessarily get sore, because that takes a while to kick in, but they'll just hurt. There'll be some discomfort. So that's like the first thing. The other thing is, most cars, and some of the newer cars are not necessarily affected so much, but when you're in first gear, if the speed is very, very low, you'll get like jerking. The car will sort of like lurch forward and back, because the RPMs are basically too low, and what's happening is sort of your engine's almost dying, but the RPMs are not low enough for it to die. So kind of like it jerks back to life, but then the car which has weight, obviously garners some inertia, which is kind of faster than your engine is driving the wheels. So then it kind of hits the other side, because you got like engine braking sort of happening on the other end, and that slows it down. And then when the engine tries to push all that weight of the car back up to speed again, it almost dies again. So you get this jerkiness. Maybe that's too technical of an explanation, but anyway, very low speeds, very low RPMs in first gear. So when you're barely moving, you're gonna have jerkiness in a lot of stick shift cars, and that's not fun to be in, just because you're jerking back and forth. Not that high of a frequency, but boom, 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 boom. And the other thing that is not good for is your engine mounts, because your drivetrain, which includes your engine, is one piece, and then your chassis which is most of the weight, that's the part that kind of causes your engine to behave that way at very low RPMs. They're not one piece, you know, so your engine sits in the engine bay on engine mounts. And, you know, some manufacturers are much better than others. For example, right now I'm in a Honda Accord with 211,000 miles on it, on original clutch, which is pretty amazing in of itself. And this car has never had any problems of any sort, but that's because it's an Accord, you know. Other cars, I've had some Volkswagens in the past, great cars. I'm not talking crap about any cars, I'm just comparing specific components. So in this case, engine mounts, you know, without even doing anything like that with it, I had to swap the engine mounts because they cracked and whatnot. And I don't know necessarily why that is. You know, you could also theorize that the higher performance the car and the components, you know, they won't last as long. But I don't necessarily consider Volkswagens to be high performance. That particular car was a Passat, the 1.8T engines, and it had some other issues, you know, like you had to change the oil very frequently, being an early compared to now turbo car. Now all the cars are turbo these days, but back then it was pretty rare to have a turbo engine, and it had problems with sludge. So, you know, even with synthetic, if you wanted to play it safe, you kind of had to change the oil every 5,000 miles, which, you know, it's not the end of the world or anything. And it's not bad advice even these days to do that with a turbo engine. But certainly was something else that will come up quicker, especially for somebody like me who, gosh, in those days I used to put almost 2,500 miles a month on the car, so, you know, changing oil every 2 months wasn't a lot of fun. But back to the original point, you know, it wasn't a particularly high performance car. Maybe for its time it was, but I just think the way certain things are engineered are more likely to break in certain cases. And there's conspiracy theories which, you know, people say that they want to make money on servicing the cars by engineering high performance, but you know, components that break quicker than others. And you know, there might be some of that coming into play here, but because like I said, this car, this Accord, it's a 7th generation Accord, has been a star from a reliability performance standpoint. And you know, I've driven it cross country, coast to coast multiple times. It's been tremendously reliable and a ton of fun, being that it's stick shift. I think if it were automatic, it would not have been this much fun, nowhere near. And automatic transmission would probably have had some issues by now at 211,000 miles, multiple times around the globe or the equator. So yeah, you know, this is kind of like my first vlog. I'm just talking about all sorts of stuff. It's not, you know, I started about traffic. I'm still in traffic, but as you can see, it's moving a little bit. Let me show you where I'm at. This is the Port of Miami. Excuse the dirty windshield. But I ran out of windshield wiper fluid, so it is what it is, you know. I'll probably get better cameras. You know, I'll driving my BMW 3 Series F30, which is also manual, one of these days. Talk more about. I actually want to compare, you know, something that most people would maybe Talk Down, which is this car. It's an old car. It's what, like 12 years old now, 211,000 miles. Base model Accord. This car has been a tremendous amount of fun. When you drive it as much as I have, and the places that it's taken me, which is basically, I've driven it from Miami all the way to Big Sur, California, and then up to San Francisco. Well, let's start that again, not to Big Sur. I drove it all the way to Yosemite, and it was a month-long cross-country road trip during which I stopped everywhere. Back in that time, that was the first time that I went to California, so this is the car that took me there. That's the first time that I had visited the Grand Canyon, which is part of that trip. Sedona, Santa Fe. I think it may have been my first time in Vegas as well. Hoover Dam, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sausalito, Yosemite, San Antonio, New Orleans, a whole lot of places. Like I said, Austin. It was a month-long road trip, which is one of the greatest things I've ever done, and it's also one of the things that you can only do really between jobs. And I was fortunate enough that, well, I didn't think I was fortunate at the time, because I worked for a startup that went out of business when the U.S. economy crashed. So that time I didn't think it was so fortunate, but it gave me the opportunity to take this wonderful road trip, for which I'm thankful. And it really gave me a lot of perspective on different places in the U.S. where I would consider living and working. And yeah, so here we are. We're approaching South Beach, and I'm gonna bid you adieu right now. And until next time, there's the ferry. There's some people on bikes, which is kind of cool. Let me actually switch the camera so I can do it while you're filming on an iPhone. Oh well. Alrighty. Later, YouTube. Please subscribe if you like what you're seeing. This is just my first video. It's a quickie. It's filmed on iPhone 6, so quality is not the greatest, particularly when you get jerkiness. I don't like what it does with the video, but it's better than nothing. It's a way to start. So I'll see you soon. Later, ciao.